Why don't we get into some baseball conversation? Because Speedy told me you're a private Mets fan. Okay.
It's hard to really hide my Met fandom, especially being on a Braves airwaves. I have to, as an affiliate, of the Braves at ESPN Chattanooga, I have to conceal it a little bit. I try my best to conceal it, but of course, it spills out. I can't help myself. Just all the misery that we've gone through for so many years, and I try to be as unbiased as I possibly can. But yes, I am a huge Mets fan. I try to pay attention to the games every single night. I don't have Bally Sports Southeast around here, blackouts, and I'm too cheap for cable. They don't pay me enough.
I can help you.
To get cable.
I can help you with that. We have to talk off air. I can actually help you with that. But
all right,
that's a whole nother thing. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But
you know what I realized is that I was down in the gym before I was hanging with you guys here on the show, and I'm flipping through the channels, just seeing what's on after the other guy that was watching something in the gym got out of there, and they actually had Bally Sports Southeast down there. So I was like, okay, well, maybe I go down there, get away from the girl a little bit every once in a while, and sneak down to the gym and watch the game.
Well, there you go. So you can hide over there, go on a treadmill or the elliptical, and watch yourself a little Mets. By the way, there's nothing bad to say about the Mets. By the way.
So. Well, no, I'm talking about like trying to find. I have ways to watch the Mets. Like my dad pays for the MLB at bat subscription, so I watch the Mets. I have the Mets stuff. I can't get the Braves stuff.
I got you.
So when I have to talk about it on the air on my show, it's a little difficult, kind of going back, and I have to rewatch the highlights and the box score and read articles and things like that just to kind of get a sense for what went on the night before.
So what are your thoughts with the Mets right now? I mean, obviously, they're getting timely hitting. Pete Alonso's becoming a superstar. Lindor looks like he's the player that we didn't see last year. Now, all of a sudden, he's becoming that shortstop superstar that we believed that he was, coming from Cleveland, getting that $340 million contract. And then how about Brandon Nimmo, who looks like he could be the starting all-star center fielder of the all-star National League team? What are your thoughts of this Mets team, even without Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer?
I know it's been wild that you missed those two guys, and don't forget Tyler McGill, who pitched really well to begin this season, filling in for deGrom. But yeah, missing those three guys, top of your rotation, is obviously very difficult. But something you said, Ariel, is that it goes to the lineup, and I think it really stems from the change in philosophy that Eric Chavez has brought with this new regime of the coaching staff of less analytics, less pressure, more free-flowing, and more just, it almost seems like aggressiveness, that they're not going up there thinking. It's like, okay, let's let our abilities do our talking for us. Let's have a game plan when we get up there, but let's not be too analytical about it. It just seems like they're going up there, putting together terrific and quality at-bats, getting on base, working pitchers. I was watching the game last night where they were talking about, Blake Snell and getting in his head and making him throw a bunch of pitches, and that's exactly what they did. And I don't think we saw that once all of last season with the at-bats that they put together, quality at-bats, things like that. And Lindor, as you mentioned, he's feeling more comfortable. Pete Alonso's getting back to what we saw a couple of years ago in 2019 when he had the 50-plus home runs, and everything just seems to fit. I love the fits of Mark Canha. I wasn't sure about Mark Canha when they first got him. I'm thinking, this guy seems like a part-time player. I'm not so sure if, filling in for Michael Conforto. I loved Michael Conforto, and he's been great. I mean, his bat-to-ball skills are very underrated. He gets on base. He's not a flashy player, but he's just a good, solid baseball player. There's just quality up and down the lineup, and I think it's just been a big change of philosophy and mindset and attitude, and that's been brought by Buck Showalter, Eric Chavez, and all the rest of the coaches that have been brought on here to sort of change the culture within this Mets organization, as you know, has not been good over the last however many years.
So one of the bigger surprises a couple of weeks ago was they demoted Dominic Smith to AAA. Obviously, they have a lot of hitting depth with this current team, but still definitely surprising considering his defensive prowess and the power that he can bring. So what do you think are the biggest reasons for that now? Is it just too much talent? Are they trying to move him? What do you think?
I really just think they want to get him some at-bats. He wasn't really getting a lot of opportunities at the major league level. They had a lot of other guys that were hitting the baseball well. I mean, you talk about, Plummer, who was playing in left for a little while there. He was hitting well. Jankowski was getting opportunities there to play because of his defense and his speed and things like that. And then J.D. Davis. And it just seemed like there was a bit of a log jam there behind Pete Alonso and some of the other outfielders and things like that. And he really wasn't hitting all that much. So I think they value Dom. I think it's a sort of one step back to take 2 steps forward. I still believe that they see him as a part of this future for the New York Mets here going forward. And, the first thing that I thought of when I saw Dom Smith got sent down was the first thought in my mind, being an old school Mets fan, was Steve Traxel back in the day got sent down at one point. And, he was an established pitcher and kind of felt like a little bit of a slap in the face, I'm sure, but he took it to heart and he went down to the minor leagues. He worked. And when he came back, he was great. And I expect nothing less from Dom Smith as well, just following his career and knowing the type of person and player that he is.
As everybody knows, we are talking to we are talking to ESPN Chattanooga radio show host Greg Larnerd. I almost used the Sports Illustrated thing. It's crazy. But anyways, it's a long, I just came back. I just flew home for this show from Tampa.
Wow.
I've been in Florida for a week, and my mom's actually, dealing with a lot of stuff too. So I went over there for vacation because I had tickets. I had it all planned, and my mom's over here. She's in a home right now. She has an infection in her bone. No, it's my family's going through all these different things that are going on. So, but I'm happy to be here because it gets your mind off of things. Always with sports and media, you try to get away from all the stuff that's going on in your life. So I'm actually very happy to be here. But getting back to the Mets, Brandon Nimmo has been fantastic all season, and right now, if you were to tell me going into the season that Brandon Nimmo would be one of the top 5 center fielders in baseball right now, I would think you were nuts. What are your thoughts with Brandon Nimmo and what he's done this season?
I love Nims, man. He just gets on base. He's a hard worker. He's somebody who, when I played after I got done playing in college in terms of college baseball, I was sort of a length in the lineup type of guy in terms of, my college days, and I didn't always start all the time and, whatnot. But when I got an opportunity to play after college, and I played just like an old man league and things like that, I loved hitting first or second, and I loved being that leadoff hitter and kind of setting the tone and working counts and things like that. So I really have an appreciation for what Brandon Nimmo does at the top of that lineup with getting on base, working counts, just getting base hits and working hard. And, I know he's sort of a pincushion at this point with all the injuries that he has, where he's getting hit on the hand and the wrist, and he's had neck issues in the past. I just really hope that Brandon Nimmo can stay healthy, because if we get a full season of Brandon Nimmo, like you mentioned, he has a very good opportunity to be one of the best center fielders in the league at this point. And he's just the kind of the straw that stirs the drink for the Mets. When he's going, it seems like their lineup is going as well. And he's been awesome for this team, and it's been fun to watch his growth and his maturity. And they showed a picture of his first time in 2011 last night when he came to Citi Field for the first time, and just baby face, 19 years old. I mean, he's grown so much, and I can't sit here and say that I thought this was going to happen with Brandon Nimmo. I thought there were some other prospects that maybe would have had higher ceilings than him, but I'm really glad to see that he's kind of grown into that role and grown into the leader and the leadoff hitter that he's become, and he's worked his way into that opportunity. I'm happy for him.
So the approach of managing these 2 pitching injuries, and you mentioned McGill as well. So we've seen a lot of these starters having to pitch for length more often than we've seen before, with Carrasco, especially. Bassett, even though he struggled in the last couple starts, has still pitched very well. So what do you think should be the approach going forward with both dealing with it with what the current roster has, and also potentially looming towards the trade deadline too? Because we've seen some veteran relief pitchers do well in certain spots and then struggle at points during the year.
Like, you're talking about the starting rotation or just the pitching?
Just pitching in general, because a lot of times they've had to use starters and switch them off from the bullpen too.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong about that. And just sort of status quo with, how well they're playing right now. And if they get to the deadline and there is a need to be had, whether it's a starter, reliever, or anything along those lines, Uncle Steve is going to go out there and get it. Whatever they need, he is going to open up the pocketbook, as they say, and he is going to go get an arm. I wholeheartedly believe that. The way that this team has been pitching and playing the game of baseball, whatever they need, he's shown them that, like, look, we can do this. If we need some reinforcements, I mean, you saw in the National League what Alex Anthopoulos did for the Braves last year. Uncle Stevie will do whatever needs to be done to get this team to where it needs to be. If deGrom isn't fully healthy or Scherzer isn't fully healthy at the trade deadline and they're feeling a little iffy, because they're not going to do anything without Scherzer or deGrom. I mean, I can't see this team making a World Series run without either of them in the rotation. Maybe if they have at least one of them, I could see them making some sort of a run. But if they're both still struggling and they both can't get back and they're not healthy, it wouldn't surprise me for Steve Cohen to go out there and make some sort of a big splash move at the deadline to bring in a big name starting pitcher to kind of fill that void. I don't know if they're going to be able to get back. I know Scherzer's up there in age. deGrom has dealt with some injuries over the last couple of years. So I'm confident that something will get done. And then, whether it's starter, reliever, or anything like that, because I do think there's some holes in the bullpen as well, specifically before Edwin Diaz. Seth Lugo hasn't looked as good as he had been in years past. So I think there may be a need for a setup man there. Trevor May has not been impressive since he's come here as a Mets guy, but I'm hoping he can get back and come back from injury and be okay. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do, but I fully expect them to go out and make a move if it's necessary at the trade deadline.
Greg, there's another team in Chattanooga you talk about and a team that you follow, and that's the Atlanta Braves, a team that really started off slow this year, bad pitching, and really losing a guy like Friedman, who a lot of people thought was the face of the organization, the face of the franchise. We've heard so many different people say that he walked out of the Atlanta Braves when they wanted him back. And then they bring in Matt Olson. He started off very strong. He's starting to play a little bit better. Ozuna just came back. He's hot right now. They're on a 6-game winning streak. What are your thoughts of Atlanta getting hot as they have in the last couple of weeks? And where do you see this team going in the second half of the season after the All-Star break?
This is a team that they're not going to give up and they're not going to die for sure. And if they can just hang around, look, I've around here in Chattanooga, I've been around a lot of Braves fans, unfortunately, and they're all very positive and obviously coming off the high of winning a World Series and things like that. And obviously, yeah, losing Freddie Freeman was a big blow, but getting back Ronald Acuna Jr. and getting him healthy has been huge, and they still have a lot of really nice pieces there. And I think, look, everybody was disappointed to lose Freddie, but in the same token, that they were able to get a guy like Matt Olson back, I think is sort of eased that blow to them. Obviously, Freddie is, an all-time great Brave, or could have been at the very least. I mean, we could have been talking about him like we talk about Chipper Jones, or as I like to call him, Larry Jones. But, they've done a really good job. But the thing that sort of scares me is that Charlie Morton really hasn't looked great. It hasn't looked good yet this season. He struggled a little bit out of the gate last year and was able to, right the ship and find it, as was Max Fried. And he just hasn't turned it around yet. I know Charlie's a veteran and he still throws the ball hard and things like that, but he's got to work on some consistency, and I hope he can get back and get a little bit more consistent and sharp. But Kyle Wright has been so impressive as well in that starting role. And the bullpen, I know they're missing a couple of pieces right now. And, the thing that sort of scares me about that bullpen is Kenley Jansen's like 36 years old as the closer. Will Smith clearly doesn't like being the setup man. He's struggled a little bit this year. So the back end of that bullpen scares me. But again, if they are within contention, there's a lot of playoff spots up for grabs now in Major League Baseball. I wholeheartedly believe that Alex Anthopoulos will do whatever he needs to do in the same vein to make sure that the Braves are in contention. They have what they need going into the postseason. And look, this is not going to be an easy team to put away. And who knows, if they get Mike Soroka back, that could be a big boost for them whenever if he is able to come back at any point.